Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 27th of May 2024. So I'm probably going to be talking about the general election for a fair bit over the next few weeks. We've got that coming up on the bizarrely chosen date of American Independence Day, 4th of July. Why they did that, I don't quite know. But before I get into that, how did you like the thumbnail for this video? I finally found out how to do a proper, if you can call it that, YouTube sort of thumbnail image. So tell me what you think in the comment section below, but it's supposed to help with views if you do that kind of thumbnail. So I guess we'll see what transpires on that one. But yeah, this general election, we've got three choices, haven't we? Us lot in the freedom movement. You've seen all of these touted by others, don't need to go into them too much. But choice number one is you vote tactically, obviously not for the uni party, but for an independent maybe, or candidate from one of the smaller parties, preferably one that believes in truth and freedom, of course. Choice number two that a lot of people talk about is spoiling your ballot paper, maybe writing on there, I don't consent or whatever. And choice number three would be to just not vote at all, not participate in this system at all, and just show your utter contempt for it. And I was leaning that way myself. I made a video about a month ago saying that that's an option I may well be considering. But I have read today a really interesting article by a lady called Miri AF. She's quite prominent on Substack, very sort of regular writer there, and very much aligned with the freedom movement as well. And I'll leave a link to this article in the description box below. But basically what she's saying is that if you do one of the second or third option, you're really playing into the hands of the powers that shouldn't be, because it's obvious, isn't it? It's obvious they want Starmer in power, the Conservatives out, Labour in, preferably with a landslide victory, so that he's got carte blanche to do pretty much whatever he likes to do. That's where we went wrong these last few years with the Conservatives having a landslide victory. They just had so much power, they could just do what they like, and we can't have that again. We really can't have Labour in with a huge majority, because they're just going to think they're invincible, untouchable, and it's going to be a nightmare for the next few years. And make no mistake, a Starmer-led Labour government would be an absolute nightmare. You know, it's going to be a hard left government for starters, which certainly isn't my type of politics at all. And we all know, after Starmer said, who would you support more, Westminster or Davos? And he enthusiastically turned around and said Davos. Well, that just means he's going to be a WEF puppet, going to be doing their bidding, and it's just going to be a total and utter nightmare. Plus you're going to have sort of nutters like Jess Phillips and David Lammy as ministers. Can you imagine that? Just imagine how bad that would be, because they're both quite experienced MPs now, so they're likely to be appointed ministers either at the start or at some point through the Labour government, aren't they? And so yeah, it's just going to be a total and utter basket case. And as this Miri AF was saying, if you don't vote, well, first of all, the powers that shouldn't be, they don't care. They're just going to cross their arms and go, yeah, righto, yeah, sort of don't bother turning up at the polling station or spoil your ballot. We don't care. We're going to get our people in power who we want in power anyway. And whatever you do doesn't make a blind bit of difference. And just because you've written "I do not consent" on your ballot paper, spoiling it doesn't mean that we're not going to be coming after you with all the draconian laws that a future Labour government would be bringing in. So this was this Miri AF saying this, and it's a really good point, isn't it? The only way I think now, especially having read her article, is to vote, but make sure obviously we don't vote for any of the uni parties, so obviously Conservative, Labour, Liberals, Greens, SNP if you're up in Scotland are all out, but votes instead for an independent or a candidate from one of the smaller parties. And the kind of argument that this lady put forward in her article, she made this comparison with, just imagine you're out with a few friends, you're deciding where you want to go to eat for dinner, and 3 people want to go to a burger bar. You can't stand hamburgers, so you definitely don't want that. The other 2 people want to go for a curry, and you could have a say in the whole thing, but you don't believe in voting, so you're going to sit the little vote out, and that means that you're going to be eating burgers because that's what the majority is going to be. So that would be a pretty silly and pointless thing to do. You might as well sort of participate in the system, maybe put forward a third option of maybe going for a Chinese instead or something like that, and then sort of swaying the whole thing so that you end up having something hopefully that you find more palatable. So that was an analogy. That's not my analogy, that's this Miri's analogy, but I thought it demonstrated the point that if you don't at least try to do something by casting a vote for independent, say, you can't really sort of then turn around and say, don't like this sort of horrendous, corrupt, overbearing Labour government that we've got. So at the moment we can do something about it, and we can go out and hopefully prevent at least a landslide victory for Labour. They'll probably still get in regardless, but if we can do it so they've only got a tiny majority, or even better, it's like a hung parliament and they've got to go into a coalition, that's going to hobble them, that's going to get their hands tied, and it's definitely not what the powers that shouldn't be want. They want a Labour sort of victory, that's quite obvious, and it seems like they're doing everything to ensure that. Sunak with his ridiculous proposal of national service, they floated that idea a month or 2 ago, didn't they, with the conscription thing. They got a resounding no, we're not up for that at all from the people. So why is Sunak kind of making this national service thing pretty much his opening gambit in the election campaign? He's just going to ensure his unpopularity, definitely with sort of 18-year-old kids and probably their parents as well. And it's just like, well, why would he do that? And this is what to deliberately lose the election, as he's been ordered to by the powers that shouldn't be. So, it's clear that that's what they want. The powers that shouldn't be want a very strong Labour government led by their sort of WEF puppet Starmer, and with a big majority, and then they can just force in all of the nightmare stuff that they want to sort of bring in, all of the Agenda 21/30 stuff, and we need to try to do what we can to throw a spanner in the works. And I think this Miri AF lady puts forward a very good case, voting for an independent or a smaller party, and then that will then sort of draw votes away from Labour. If we all get out, if everybody in the freedom movement got out and we cast our votes, yeah, that's the thing they fear. They certainly don't want all of us going out there and getting involved with politics and voting. So they're sort of bringing in, no doubt with controlled opposition, saying, oh, you know, don't consent to the system, don't participate in it. Yeah, that gets us to sit at home, do nothing, and then, yeah, that ensures that Starmer gets in. Whereas if we do all get out and vote for independents, etc., smaller parties, that then sort of perhaps might throw a spanner in their works. So I don't know if, yeah, that really would be the case. This lady writer seems very convinced that that's going to, or would be the case. If we all got together and went out and voted, that could stop Starmer. So she puts in a really good case for it as well. So I'll leave a link to that in the description box below that article, and you can tell me what you think. But also tell me, after you've read her article, are you swayed by what she's saying? Are you going to go out and vote tactically, or are you just going to spoil your ballot paper, or not participate in the system at all, not even voting at all? So, you know, all three options are, you know, perfectly valid. But I think if you do vote and you do try and get in, you know, one of your sort of smaller party candidates or independent candidates into your local constituency as your local MP, at least you've tried, haven't you? Whereas the other things, you haven't sort of tried at all. So do take a look at the article and tell me what you think. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.